Viewer discretion is advised.
The worst outbreak for over 100 years. We've got these knobheads making all the key decisions.
I'm shaking hands continuously. I was at a hospital the other night where I think there were actually a few coronavirus patients, and I shook hands with everybody. You'll be pleased to know, and I continue to shake hands. And
2.2 million deaths, 2.2 million people from this. And so if we could hold that down, as we're saying, to 100,000, it's a horrible number. Maybe even less, but to 100,000. So we have between 100 and 200,000. We all together have done a very good job.
Well, here we are again, that time of the month where I give out my award for the biggest twat of the last 4 weeks. And boy, has it been an eventful month. Now, unless you've been meditating in a desert for the last 14 days, you would know that the world is gripped by a pandemic. And unfortunately, it's brought out all those idiots in its wake. Now, I was hoping we would have one winner to stand tall above all the rest in this time of the crisis. But no, we were covered wall to wall in idiots. So I'm not going to waste any more time, and I shall get on with the video, starting with this entry. I don't know where to begin with this one. This is the man at the start of the first cases appearing in the UK, got up in a press conference and said, you will lose loved ones, and we should all try to get coronavirus so we can all have herd immunity.
And I must level with you, level with the British public. More families, many more families, are going to lose loved ones before their time.
I'm sorry, you don't say that in a press conference. He might as well have opened the door to number 10 and shouted, "Coronavirus, good luck everybody," and slammed the door again. It's like the Boris Johnson's mouth goes off on a tangent before his brain has a chance to catch up. Then literally a couple of days later, he said in a press conference that he had been shaking hands with people at a hospital and some of them could have had coronavirus. Yeah, that's really going to end well, isn't it?
I'm shaking hands continuously. I was at a hospital the other night where I think there were actually a few coronavirus patients, and I shook hands with everybody. You'll be pleased to know, and I continue to shake hands.
And surprise, surprise, a few days ago, Boris Johnson tested positive for COVID-19. What's really interesting, that day that he announced to the world that he had picked up coronavirus, Dominic Cummings was seen sprinting very fast out of number 10. I have now got a reconstruction of what happened that fateful day.
I just want to announce today I have contracted coronavirus. I now have COVID-19. Do what?
I bet Cummings was totally shitting himself because for the last 14 days he had been spending time with Boris Johnson. And when the test come back, he was, surprise, surprise, shown as being positive to having COVID-19. More of the story, you can't outrun a virus. Well, welcome to herd immunity, Johnson. Next. Whilst still on the subject of world leaders, Donald Trump made a complete cock of himself over the last few weeks. Firstly, in a tweet saying that the coronavirus was a low risk to the average American. Well, I guess the 140,000 plus of Americans that have caught the virus can't be average American then. Then he completely downplayed the situation and buggered off and played golf, which seems to be Trump's go-to situation when things get worse for him. And then he had the cheek to say that he wanted America up and running by Easter. Imagine how bad things will get if he gets his way. He now thinks that if the death toll is less than 100,000 Americans, then he's done a good job.
2.2 million deaths, 2.2 million people from this. And so if we could hold that down, as we're saying, to 100,000, it's a horrible number. Maybe even less, but to 100,000. So we have between 100 and 200,000. We all together have done a very good job.
I'm sorry, but that's not acceptable on anybody's watch. And of course, everything to him is about TV ratings, because in this tweet, he congratulated himself on getting high viewership for his daily press conferences.
President Trump is a ratings hit. Since reviving the daily White House briefing, Mr. Trump and his coronavirus updates have attracted an average audience of 8.5 million on cable news, roughly the viewership of the season final of The Bachelor. Numbers are continuing to rise.
What kind of world leader thinks more about the TV viewing figures than the lives of the people under his leadership? It's like Donald Trump thinks that this whole thing is one giant reality TV show. It isn't, because people's lives are at stake here. Next. While staying on the subject of politicians, our next entry on my list is Health Secretary Matt Hancock. He recently come under fire after he claimed that an EU scheme to buy ventilators had failed because Britain had missed the deadline because the email went straight into the spam folder. I'm not being funny, but I seriously think that excuse is total bullshit, because I think EU personnel that you would be in contact with would be in your address book. Basically, he was covering up Johnson's gaffe because Johnson said he ignored the EU scheme because we were no longer in the EU. Matt Hancock had to come up with an excuse, and this was the first one to come to his head. Unfortunately, he played the, "oh, the dog ate my homework" excuse. Next. Next up are the fuckwits, who decided to get clicks of views. They would lick the porcelain of a toilet bowl as a challenge to see if they would get coronavirus or not. This new challenge is totally and completely dumb. It's not only coronavirus that live on toilet bowls, but other nasty bacteria too. So even if you didn't pick up coronavirus by doing this challenge, you're bound to pick up something else that would also make you seriously ill. Now call it karma if you like, but apparently the last guy from that clip has now reportedly have contracted coronavirus. I guess he won't be licking any toilet bowls anytime soon. Next. Our next entry on my list is a religious man who opened up his church to worshippers despite a statewide ruling that said not to hold gatherings more than 50 people. Pastor Tony Spell claimed that his church had attracted over 1,000 worshippers by bussing in people from 5 parishes. The pastor come under heavy criticism over this, but in an interview he said he was being forced to shut his doors in an act of religious persecution.
That is accurate, Dr. Field. We feel that we are as an essential part of our community as the retail stores, as the Mall of Louisiana that remains open to this moment. So it is in persecution of the faith for us to be asked to close our doors whenever more people are being contacted in those Targets and Walmarts than are in my service.
Has this guy not heard of social distancing? He told CNN that he believed that the pandemic was political motivated. Well, tell that to the families of these victims of this awful plague and see how they feel about it. Even today, despite what's going on across the globe, he's defiantly going to ignore the governor's orders. In a recent sermon, he told his congregation, "We are free people. We are not going to be intimidated. We are not going to cower." Him and his congregation are the reason why this virus is still spreading, because people won't stay at home. Perhaps he should have a bit of karma bite him on his arse and give him the virus, and maybe then he will see how serious this situation is. Next. Next up we have Instagram influencer Tate, who made a video claiming she didn't care about the social distancing rules that have been put in since the outbreak. The 21-year-old had said she was unafraid and unbothered by it all because she was healthy and could not be affected by the virus. Well, surprise, surprise, she has now been tested as positive for COVID-19. Maybe here's a little lesson for you. If your government guidelines tells you to do something, don't be arrogant and completely ignore it. Yes, you might be healthy, and yes, you might fight this virus off pretty easily. But what if you carry that virus to an elderly relative and that person dies? How would you feel about it then? Next. Our final entry is a shout out to the population of Britain who have acted like complete twats since the infection had hit its shores. Obviously, I'm not singling out every single person of Britain, only those that have been bulk buying in the shops, those that have gone to the park or the coast when it was glorious sunshine, those that have been holding parties despite the fact that the pubs and clubs have been shut down. One group of people had to be told not to sunbathe because it was a lockdown and not a public holiday.
Guys, you can't stay on the green. Can you all go home? Can you all go home, please? It's not a holiday. It's a lockdown, which means you don't just come in and sunbathe. Can you please just leave? The government has a lockdown in force. Can you please get off the green, go home?
The people that have been hoarding loo rolls. I mean, why loo rolls? It's not like the virus affects your arse. The fact that the food that they had bought in the first week has now been thrown out because it's gone past their sell-by dates. Even NHS staff have been abused by the public. They have been spat on and told that they were disease carriers. Well, remember folks, who's going to look after you when you get the virus? And there you have it, some of the winners that make up this month's Cock of the Month. There was going to be a lot more, but we would have been here all night if I carried on. So that means it's time for the jingle.
Fuck you very, very much. 'Cause we hate what you do and we hate your whole crew, so please don't stay in touch.
So what do you think to it all? Who would you have added to the list of the winners? I would love to hear from you in the comments. I hope you liked this video. If you did, don't forget to check out one of those videos just there. And if you're new to my channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button just there. Take care, and I will see you all soon. Bye for now.